Welcome to the Nonprofit Voice, which is brought to you by NonProfit Pro, the go-to resource for nonprofit management and strategy. In each episode, we'll sit down with nonprofit executives, consultants, and technology partners to learn more about the latest tactics, strategies, and trends in the nonprofit sector. As always, you can download all Nonprofit Voice episodes on Apple, Google, and Spotify. To be the first to know of new episode releases, follow us on social media and subscribe to our e-newsletter.
Welcome back, everyone. Mark Becker here, founding partner of Cathexis Partners. Looking forward to this conversation today with Rick from Holt International and Mike with Tatango talking about text messaging. Rick, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Holt International first?
Hi, my name is Rick Ericson. I'm the Senior Director of Donor Pipeline Engagement and Growth at Holt International. And Holt actually pioneered international adoption a long time ago, 1956. We continue to be the leader in international adoption in the US. Today, most of our focus is actually just helping children remain in their birth families in 17 countries internationally. I've been working in fundraising for a number of years here and in technology. It's great to be here.
Excellent. Thank you. That's great. Well, thanks for joining us today. And Mike, how about yourself?
Yeah, hi, everybody. Mike Snusz. I'm the nonprofit customer success experience director at Tatango and have been in the nonprofit space for 21 years now. Started out at a cancer foundation in my hometown of Buffalo, New York, and then went to the Blackbaud team and was part of their digital services team, and then moved over to Tatango. Tatango is a broadcast text messaging company, so we've been around a long time, but we've been focusing on the nonprofit space the last few years, and really what makes us different and unique in the industry is the ability to send text at scale to large audiences and have multimedia elements, images, videos in them. So excited to be on the podcast here today with you.
That's great. And tell us a little bit about why and how nonprofits are using text messaging in general these days, Mike.
Yeah, it's interesting. Text messaging has been around a long time, right? We've been using it for 20, 25 years. I think it started to become popular back in when the Haiti earthquake happened back in 2011 from a fundraising perspective. I think that really started to shine light on the ability of text messaging to raise money. And when $44 million, I think, was raised just by each $10 text at a time. And back then it was a little bit different where you texted a keyword to help the victims of the earthquake. And a $10 gift was made through your phone carrier. And that sort of evolved over the last 10, 15 years where people aren't necessarily giving through their phone carrier because it's tough to get that donor information. And we know that people give more than $10 gifts when they make a gift online. So it's really started to become more popular over the last several years, where now the Digital Outlook report last year indicated that 4 to 5 nonprofits either have a text messaging program or are going to start one. And we see the use cases very similar to how email is used. Everybody thinks of fundraising when it comes to text messaging, but there's a really strong use case around donor stewardship. And if we look at the declining retention rates over the last 6, 7 years and the inability to report back and get in front of your donors and thank them, I think there's a really a lot of momentum for using text messaging for donor retention, donor stewardship, obviously using it for fundraising, engagement, finding different ways to connect people closer to your mission. Obviously, events is a great use case for it as well. But with the multimedia elements of images and videos and GIFs, text messages look a lot like emails do. They just have a higher engagement where 90% of them get opened within the first few minutes of being received.
And those are actual open rates, not fake open rates based on the carriers or Apple saying that it's been opened like an email message these days, right? You can actually depend on someone actually opening it and actually reading it. That's great. So, Rick, tell us a little bit about Holt International's kind of journey with text messaging and what recently brought you with Tatango and that campaign, any campaigns you might be running or have run.
Absolutely. So Holt has had, I think, a pretty robust omni-channel marketing team and set of channels, and we've had quite a bit of success in direct mail and email and some social media, digital advertising. But we've been noticing the same trends Mike's talking about, right? So our open rates, our click-throughs on emails had been declining for a while, and frankly, to broad audiences, overall engagement through like phone campaigns and even through direct mail, they're still important, but we're just not getting the same kinds of saturation that we used to, which I think that's just all across the industry. And so text message had been on our radar for a little while. And we know from past experience that anytime that we can bring another channel to bear and get more people to see a campaign through more impressions or a message through more impressions, we see better results. So it was kind of a no-brainer. It's kind of funny, we were rolling into our calendar year end planning and execution, and we had just a little bit of money set aside that didn't have a specific purpose yet, and asked ourselves, what could we do to boost our results with a really ambitious goal for year-end fundraising. And text messaging was it. We worked with Mike. We were able to spin up the channel, frankly, pretty quickly, maybe more quickly than is typical. I'll throw that in there for you, Mike. But we were able to, within a couple of months, spin that channel up and use it for our year-end fundraising with some really kind of impressive results. And not just through direct gifts, but through, and Mike and I have talked about this quite a bit and looked at quite a bit of data, but through enhancing other channels. So it led to increased response rates for our email campaigns, some nice responses through like major gift officers who had seen the message, and it was really evident that it got a lot more opens and was much more kind of in front of people at a critical time of year where that can be really hard to do.
Yeah. So Mike, anything to add about how, it fits into text messaging, fits into kind of omni-channel or multi-channel communications and helps kind of raise the tide for all boats, I'm assuming, based on what Rick's saying?
Yeah, we saw that with Holt, but we also saw it with there was some data that M&R had come out with about a year and a half ago where they looked at the how text messaging can lift email, and they found that with their customers that when you add text messaging to an existing email program, it can lift the amount raised per person by 30%. So I think the data is just starting to come out with text messaging for nonprofits. There's not honestly a lot of data out there. One of the things we're trying to do is get more metrics and KPIs. We're looking to put more data out there later this year because there's a lot of information for email and social and digital ads and conversion rates and average gift, but it's just not out there for text messaging. But we see a lot of momentum with the channel to the point where we're seeing not only the direct conversions, but that it does complement. If you think about email and, Mark, you work in email marketing and you see the results, and you mentioned the Apple open rates from a couple of years ago, how they're no longer really reliable and they're sort of artificially inflated. And so being able to have metrics that can help to increase and get your messages in front of more people, where typically the last known open rate we had with email that was reliable was about 22%. And with texting, almost everybody opens at 99%. So it's one of those channels that I think has gone from let's test it out and let's sort of do text to give, which was the old text to word, and then I give $10 to more of let's make it more like a communication channel like email is, where we're being proactive in our messaging, sending it out like we would email or direct mail. We're getting stewardship messages, fundraising, event recruitment, and it's moving towards more of a mainstay as a channel alongside other digital channels like email, social, digital ads, just because of the reach and the high engagement that it has.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with 22% open rates compared to 90%. I mean, that speaks for itself, right? Sure. Awesome. I mean, obviously you have to have their cell phone numbers, and they have to feel trusted to give that to you, right? As an organization. So it's all part of that overall relationship that you have. So Rick, I'm assuming, sounds like when the campaign went really well, you had great results. What's next? Is it part of your regular budget now, or end of year again? What's the forward thinking on text messaging at Hold?
Both and more. So
Nice.
we've really kind of come to realize that anytime we need to know that we can get in front of a key audience or with a key message, this is one of our go-tos. So examples, we've started to use it for volunteer recruitment for key events where we're doing donor acquisition. And it's just so much more effective than the combinations of email or trying to do robocall or it just we get much better saturation and much better response rates from folks. We've even started to kind of dabble into major gift officers using uh, text with their portfolios with some really interesting kind of early success. It's a very personal feeling touch that can be done at scale. So we've really been able to just kind of get the creative fundraising thinking caps on and start to play with this as a channel in a lot of spots where we really need somebody to see a message and take an action.
I like it. That's great. That's great. Mike, any advice for folks out there looking to add text messaging to their arsenal or increase the amount that they're using it currently to their overall strategy?
Yeah, well, Rick brought up a good point. He brought up that it's personal, and that is true. It's a very personal, immediate channel. So, with great power comes great responsibility. You're going to get in front of your donors very quickly. You're going to get their attention. And I guess, pitfalls you can run into is if you just use the channel like any channel just for fundraising and you do appeal after appeal after appeal. Another organization that has a really great approach to text messaging is International Medical Corps. And their whole approach, their goal going into their text messaging program was to provide value to their donors. So using it to give something back to their donors, whether it's that celebrating a gift, whether it's reporting back on the impact of gifts. They use texting a couple times of the year. They send out a text to their donors reporting back halfway through the year, at the end of the year, at the 1 year anniversary of the war in Ukraine, on the impact of those donations. And so many emails either don't get delivered or end up in the junk folder or don't get opened, that just sending these cultivation and stewardship communications via email isn't necessarily going to reach a lot of your donors. But I think making sure that the mix of text messages that you're sending, like any channel, is a good mix of, certainly when you ask for money, we see good success and you're going to raise money, but you have to balance that and mix it up to provide value to your donors with stewardship, with engagement. We see donor surveys, we see different types of advocacy alerts, ways that people can get connected. Rick mentioned volunteering, ways that they can be connected and involved in your organization outside of fundraising. And then at strategic times, when there is an urgent ask or a timely ask, we see those types of fundraising messages perform best. When it is obviously you have December 31st and Giving Tuesday, emergency giving, but other times of the year when there's an urgent need for the people that you help to get them some sort of assistance by a certain deadline or time frame, those messages tend to perform well. But it needs to be a mix. There needs to be value that you give to your donors and constituents balanced with the fundraising ask, like any channel.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, Rick, any final thoughts or advice for folks out there?
Yeah, this was not what I expected, but one of the really positive outcomes from instituting text message has actually been the opportunity to respond to people who text back. So we've had folks on our staff kind of dedicated. They're honestly our regular phone folks who are taking inbound calls, and they can on the platform easily respond back to questions. People who maybe they had a credit card expire and hadn't gotten around to do anything about it, and get somebody on the phone, or they had a question about a campaign that they saw. It's been overwhelmingly positive, but it's just been a really interesting way to get to engage with some of our donors that I didn't necessarily expect.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot more usage out there, as you both kind of alluded to, of text messaging, and always great to share those stories of success. And when you do, if you haven't dabbled, it's time, right? And it doesn't have to take a lot of time or cost a ton of money to give it your first test shot, but know that you should probably plan for the long haul, because it really should become one of your channels, right?
Agreed.
Well, thank you both so much for joining today and sharing your thoughts. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
All right. Have a good one, everybody.
Thanks for listening. Listen to more episodes at nonprofitpro.com, as well as on Apple, Google, and Spotify.